We are only 1.5 weeks away from the launch of Jaguar Gator 7, an all-new baseball history channel. Click the card in the upper right corner or the link in the description to subscribe now. And now, on with our feature presentation. With how much happens during the Super Bowl, sometimes it's tough to think about and remember just how much goes on during the game, and how many talking points there are. Obviously, you have the game itself, but you've also got the halftime show, the commercials, the broadcast and the high scrutiny that the broadcast falls under, the national anthem, the pregame performances, the pregame show, and then the grand finale of the coverage, the lead-out show. Yeah, let's talk about the lead-out show for a second. When you have over 100 million eyeballs on your network, you have a golden opportunity after the game to air a program and try to attract an audience. Now, the strategy for what to air for this lead-out program varies by year and by each network. Sometimes, the network airs an already popular program to try and make it the #1 program in the country, or to get tons of advertising dollars. We saw this with Glee at Super Bowl 45, Friends at Super Bowl 30, and Survivor at Super Bowl 35. And sometimes, the network airs a brand new program, hoping to get an audience that will latch on. This is the gamble. This is the high-risk, high-reward play. You've got to hope that the audience will like the show enough that they'll stay tuned and won't turn it off and switch to something else. You have no real gauge if this program was well received or not, since a ton of people who only have the TV on because they don't turn it off are watching, and it's background noise while people clean up the party or are getting ready to leave. And then, you've got to hope that the audience engages enough that they'll tune in during the show's regular time slot. It's one thing to get people to watch after the Super Bowl when nothing else is happening. It's another to get them to watch on Wednesday nights every week when they already might be watching a show on Wednesdays. Sometimes, this gamble works out incredibly well. I did a video about how after Super Bowl 22, ABC decided to air the Wonder Years as its lead-out program, which was a brilliant decision. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. Fox aired Family Guy as the lead-out to Super Bowl 33, and that worked out well, even if it took a few cancellations to get there. CBS aired Undercover Boss as the lead-out to Super Bowl 44, and that was a success. And then, there are the catastrophic failures. This is when a network squanders a golden opportunity, and shows a program that fails immediately, and lasts one season, or sometimes even less than that. CBS aired a talent show hosted by James Corden after Super Bowl 53. Remember that one? Probably not. It got canceled after one season. CBS aired a show called Grand Slam after Super Bowl 24. Do you remember anything about that show? Probably not. It only lasted 8 episodes. Remember when ABC aired Magruder and Loud after Super Bowl 19? Considering its 15-episode run, you probably don't remember that. But I'll put it this way. Even though those shows failed pretty spectacularly, there was at least a game plan there. The show wound up winning the time slot and was the highest rated non-Super Bowl program of the day, even if it won no other nights outside of that. And at the very least, there was a schedule. They weren't winging it and failing so badly that another network literally beat them. That's right. Imagine losing in the ratings on the night of the Super Bowl to another network that does not have the rights to the Super Bowl. Well, allow me to introduce you to NBC at Super Bowl 20. Because the same geniuses that brought you the Silent Minute, which was so well received and watched, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, brought you this absolutely terrible, garbage idea that was doomed to fail from the start. Because this is the story behind the worst and the most disastrous lead-out program in the history of the Super Bowl. Before I talk about what made this such a disaster from every standpoint, and I don't just mean the quality of the program because that's entirely subjective, we need some context to understand what happened at previous Super Bowls with the lead-out program. Mainly, the last time that NBC broadcast the game. Because 3 years before, at Super Bowl 17, after the game, NBC decided to air a pilot episode for an all-new show. Sure, NBC tried this with their pilot episode of Brothers and Sisters, which failed pretty badly, but they were willing to try and experiment again. As for what show it was, well, you might have heard of it. That's right, the A-Team. I mean, this show needs no introduction, does it? It was a pop culture phenomenon. It dominated in the ratings for each of its first 3 seasons, placing inside the top 10 all 3 years, and as high as 4th during the 1983-84 TV season, and featured Mr. T himself. The A-Team changed the game forever, in the sense that this was the first time ever that networks realized that airing a brand new show after the Super Bowl could be a great idea, and would be an easy way to launch a series. So NBC, when they got their next Super Bowl at Super Bowl 20 in 1986, figured that they should go this route again. Heck, it worked the last time we did it. Why not try it again with another show? And with that, NBC announced that their all-new show airing after the Super Bowl was going to be The Last Precinct. Alright, this could work. You've got Adam West taking time out of his busy schedule as the mayor of Quahog to star in this series. And you've got music by Mike Post, maybe the greatest TV theme composer of all time. Alright, you've got the stars, so what's the premise? A transgender woman and an Elvis impersonator are cops who get assigned to Adam West's unit.
Everything you say can and will be used against you, baby.
I'm sorry, what? What the heck kind of premise for a show is that? Is that just a game of Mad Libs? Remember the episode of South Park where they joke that Family Guy gets their cutaway jokes from manatees who have idea balls? That's what this show feels like on paper. You know it's always a good sign when the nicest, and I truly mean it, the nicest review for the show says that it can't possibly develop a broad following, but might be able to get a cult following and last a few seasons. If that's the bar, oh man, that is a low bar. When I say this pilot episode was panned by critics who got to see it before the Super Bowl, I truly mean it. The Detroit Free Press called the show an alleged comedy with no flair, dumb and sophomoric jokes, not even the slightest bit subtle, and a case of brain brutality. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram called it the cop show to end all cop shows because of how bad it was, said that it belonged behind bars forever, and questioned what NBC was thinking by having this as the lead-out program to the Super Bowl. I dug high and low, and trust me when I say that I could not find one positive review of this show. It was that bad. But were the critics right? Is this show as bad as they say it is? Yes it is. I'm not going to break down the whole episode because this video would run 50 minutes long if I did that. And it's available on YouTube for your viewing pleasure if you want to witness this hour-long atrocity. But it's bad, and I highly encourage you for your own sanity to not watch. It's an unfunny mess of a show where you can tell right away, where the very first joke 5 minutes in features a blow-up doll getting thrown out of a car, that this is going to be a painful ride. Between the awful comedy, scenes that went on for far too long that easily could have been cut down and went on the chopping board, some bizarre camera choices during action scenes, and dialogue that fell incredibly on the nose and not like how anyone in the real world talks, this was really, really bad. Seriously, if you can make it to the end of this show, either you're a glutton for punishment, or I question your taste in everything. Now I've ragged on the quality of this program. Heck, maybe I haven't ragged on it enough. But that's not why this video is being made. Look, there are plenty of bad TV shows and plenty of bad lead-out programs. And you could probably make the argument that this wasn't even the worst one of all time. Heck, the live version of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that aired after Super Bowl 50 was unwatchable with how many technical difficulties and hiccups there were. There are programs that have been panned just like this one. Not every program can be The Office after Super Bowl 43. But this show committed an almost unthinkable flaw. And that was the fact that at no point did they ever indicate when the next episode was going to air. The reason why? They had no idea. They gave The Last Precinct the lead-out spot at the Super Bowl without having any date and time for when it would air after that. Seriously, Literally, a starting date and time for the series was not set. So if you happen to like this show, you had no idea when the next episode was airing, or if there would even be a next episode. You would then have to remember everything that happened and hope that there was still hype. Imagine if the NFL announced their schedule for week 1, and then said, we have no idea when week 2 will be played. Could be weeks from now, could be months from now. It's anyone's guess. No one would watch the NFL at that point. And considering that the next episode of the show wasn't even able to be aired until April 11th, a cool 75 days after the first episode aired, no wonder this failed. This was a flawed concept from the start. NBC could have aired, quite literally, any other show besides this, and it would have gone over better. You want to air a popular show? Do you know how much money you could have made in advertising dollars, both in terms of people staying tuned in at the end of a blowout, and in terms of the lead-out program, by airing a 1-hour special episode of The Cosby Show? I mean, that was a juggernaut that would have been the highest-rated lead-out program of all time. You want to air a brand new show on its first season to boost it even more? You had Golden Girls right there. Massive ratings there, especially since the target audience for that show has no overlap whatsoever with football. You want to air the pilot episode of a show? You had You Again and Black's Magic. At least both of those shows had a designated time slot where you knew where the next episode would be. But nope, you had to air The Last Freaking Precinct, a show that you believed in so much that you didn't even know when it was going to air next. And audiences did not respond to this at all. Because the main reason that I call this the most disastrous and worst lead-out program of all time, it's because of the fact that when it came to the ratings, The Last Precinct did not win its time slot. Instead, it lost to an episode of Murder, She Wrote on CBS. But not just any episode of Murder, She Wrote, a rerun. Do you realize how bad your program has to be, and how awful your strategy for this program going in had to be, to not just lose to another network, but to lose to another network that's not even trying to do anything, as they've just accepted the loss? It's not like Fox at Super Bowl 26, when they aired a live episode of In Living Color directly against the halftime show in order to draw viewers away from figure skating, rapping Frosty the Snowman, and the mess that was. CBS won after the Super Bowl 20 time slot without even trying. I shouldn't say without even trying, because they moved both 60 Minutes and Murder, She Wrote back 2 hours from their usual time slot so they wouldn't interfere with the Super Bowl, and instead would be going up against The Last Precinct. But still, they were not new episodes. Murder, She Wrote drew a 22.5 rating, and The Last Precinct, in the second half hour of the show, drew a 22.5 as well. But if we go into the hundreds or thousands, CBS won the battle. An estimated 41.5 million homes of the 92.6 million viewers watched the Super Bowl, and an estimated 19.3 million homes watched Murder, She Wrote. This means that 50% of the people who watched the Super Bowl on NBC either had no interest in watching the lead-out program, or watched it, and it was so bad that they actively flipped on something else instead of just turning off their TVs or having NBC on in the background as noise while their party or festivities were wrapping up. Seriously, you have to put in a concentrated effort to lose on Super Bowl Sunday to a network that is airing a rerun and is conceding defeat. When I say this was unprecedented, I truly mean it. As bad as Magruder and Loud was at the previous Super Bowl on ABC, and trust me, it was bad. It only lasted one season. It still pulled the highest Nielsen rating of the night for a non-Super Bowl program, since at least people knew that if they liked that show, that they could tune in on Tuesday nights, as early as 2 days after the Super Bowl, to watch it again. But between the poor reception to The Last Precinct and the brilliant strategy of not having a date or time for the program to air, who was this for? What was NBC thinking? There's a reason this failed so spectacularly, to the point where a failure like this has not been replicated since. NBC didn't do this with the A-Team at Super Bowl 17 3 years before. They aired the next episode the following Sunday night. So why they did this here when they literally had the blueprint for a successful lead-out program and what to do and what not to do, I don't know. But there were a lot of confused, puzzled, and angry executives at NBC wondering what the heck happened, I can tell you that much. For Super Bowl 57, Fox is airing an episode of Next Level Chef. Seems like a pretty safe pick, all things considered. Gordon Ramsay shows typically do very well. He's a recognizable name that appeals to everyone. The show had a first season, so they know what to expect and can make any necessary tweaks from year to year. And they aired a new episode after last year's NFC Championship, so this isn't exactly uncharted water for them. Plus, the ratings were incredibly consistent across all the non-pilot and football lead-out related episodes last year. At the very least, there is no way, none whatsoever, that it can go any worse than what happened at Super Bowl 20 with NBC. Because thanks to its poor reception and its absolutely terrible strategy, The Last Precinct was the last thing that anyone should do when planning a lead-out program. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL Trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JaguarGator9. To see college football videos, subscribe to JaguarGator8. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.